send us into the world to do your bidding. Let the change in the world begin through us. Amen.
Lily?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lily. You're going to do great tomorrow. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Dodson.
Here.
Councilmember Gleason.
Here.
Mayor Gooch.
Here.
Councilmember Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Hensley.
Here.
Councilmember Hope. Here. Councilmember Smith.
All right. All members present. Our first order of business, Madam Clerk, is the swearing in of Oak Ridge City Judge James Norman. Okay.
So the next item is the swearing in of our newly elected, or in this case, re-elected city council members. Mr. Dodson is here with his wife, Becky, and we have Councilmember Hope and Councilmember Hammond, and Judge Norman is going to administer your oath of office.
I
Thank you, Judge. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the election of the office of mayor.
I move to elect Warren Gooch by acclamation.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Thank you all for your support, as well as the public. It's a great honor to serve this community and to serve with all of you, and I appreciate your service and your dedication to the city. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the election of Mayor Pro Tem. A-
To elect Mayor Pro Tem Tim Dawson by acclamation.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. You are elected.
It's my pleasure and honor to have served with you and to continue to serve with each of you. I have learned so much from City Council and in the service of our city. So thank you each for the confidence in me for this position.
Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
We have under proclamations and public recognitions, we have a special recognition of the Scarborough 85, and I won't steal anyone's thunder, so I'll turn that back over to, I believe, Mr. Hensley.
Councilman Hensley.
Yes, sir. It is my honor and privilege to speak for Oak Ridge City Council in this very important issue and to further recognize the Scarborough 85 for the role in the desegregation of public schools in the United States, following the landmark decision of the Supreme Court of the United States in Brown versus Board of Education. Our Scarborough 85 showed amazing courage and resolve as they peacefully entered the previous all-white classrooms of Oak Ridge High School and Robertsville Junior High School on Tuesday, September the 6th, 1955. On that day, both schools became the first public schools in the southeast region of the United States to desegregate and implement the ruling of the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, the United States Senate, in resolution S-905, dated November 21st of 2024, sponsored by Senator Blackburn and Representative Haggerty, and the state of Tennessee, also in the proclamation dated October the 3rd, 2024, sponsored by Representative McKenzie, have recognized and celebrated the Scarborough 85 for their bravery and the role they played. Tonight we have with us Scarborough 85 committee member Rose Weaver. Rose, are you here? There she is, right there. Who is here on behalf of the Scarborough 85 students and the Monument Committee. She is helping lead the charge and honestly working very, very hard to create a new memorial in Oak Ridge honoring the Scarborough 85.
I think some of the students, 85 students, are out in the audience. If they could raise their hand.
I'd like for them to raise their hand or stand as they're able, please.
Okay, just raise your hand. Also, if we could have the Scarborough 85 Monument Committee members, if any of them are present, if they could stand.
The members of Scarborough 85, thank you.
And on behalf of John Spratlin and the committee members and the 85 students, we want to thank the City of Oak Ridge for continuing to support all these efforts as we strive toward the monument. We think that this is going to be a illustration of the beginning and the future and the legacy of those students that sacrifice themselves, because many don't realize that Oak Ridge was the impetus that set integration on the map. And we're hoping that this can be a continued relationship, because we want this monument to be completed before many of the students that are here today can see the legacy that will continue on, because it's going to be educational and it's going to be economically for East Tennessee and Oak Ridge and the state of Tennessee. And thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wade.
Thank you, Rose.
Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
So our next item is the recognition of our 2024 inaugural class of our Oak Ridge Citizens Academy. And members of council may remember that at our work session in October, this group came in front of you and presented a project that they worked on as a group after only knowing each other for 2.5 weeks and working together. 2 of our class members are here tonight, and I'd like them to stand. They all completed the class. They all graduated on November the 12th. We didn't lose any in the process. And so, and they learned a lot about their city, and they stuck with it, and we're so grateful for our inaugural class. So if Pam Moody and Ruth Rizzi would please stand. They're the ones that are here tonight representing our class. We had 9 other members who were a part of the class. We had Beth Bailey, Mitzi Burgess, Miss Rizzi, Miss Moody, Kathy Dunning, Alex Miglin, Russell Cook, Hope Cook, Tricia Jaffrey, Elizabeth Lazier, and Heidi Dudich. So that was our inaugural class, and we hope to present another class next fall, next October. But we're just grateful for your support, and especially for Mr. Heeman's support for finally getting this program off the ground.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
We have under special reports, we have the Oak Ridge Heritage Railroad Authority Annual Report, and we have Chair Gordon Fee here with us.
Mr. Fee, thank you.
Thank you all for having us on the agenda tonight. I'm here to represent the Oak Ridge Heritage Railroad Authority. I'm the chairman, and we have one other member. That's Mike McGill, who serves as Secretary-Treasurer of this. Our primary mission is to oversee the railroad that extends from the K-25 site out to the Norfolk Southern Blair interchange, 11.5 miles. And our role is really, when you get down to it, to position ourselves to get grants from the state of Tennessee. We were instituted by ordinance here, not by ordinance, by regulation, in 2001, and since then the state has invested about $3 million into this railroad. It's on a 90-10 split, meaning that the state puts up 90% of maintenance project costs, and Energy Solutions puts up 10%. The railroad is the smallest in terms of traffic of the 18 short line railroads in the state of Tennessee. We get a few kickers because of the traffic that we have carrying waste out of here, but overall we're competing with all the other 18 for a portion. We get about 5% of the state's allocation from the legislature. That money used to come from a special tax. The tax was challenged by lawsuit, and now it comes from a line item in the legislature budget, about $20 million a year. One of the things that we belong to is the Short Line Railroad Association, and they do most of the heavy load of talking to the legislature about the needs of the short line. The railroad itself has a number of customers, 4 to be exact. So we have very little traffic. About 130 cars a year are now being transported in or out of the site. The customers are primarily Energy Solutions, who owns the railroad, and a new customer this year, which is a very unique customer by the name of Farmall. Farmall Corporation makes products out of plastic beads that they ship in from Texas by rail. They own nothing or lease nothing at the site. They bring their cars into a siding at the site. They go out there with a big truck with a vacuum cleaner on it, my term, and they suck the bees out of their cars, and they go off to their plant outside the city limits in there. Energy Solutions is the next biggest customer, and the other two are small customers. Southern Appalachian Railroad Museum still exists at the K-25 site. In 2016, they were ordered to stop passenger traffic, and so they exist on leasing refurbished railroad cars to other railroads. They have 37 antique cars, you might say, stuck at K-25. They've been looking since 2016 to find a new site. They have not been able to do that, nor to come up with the money to move. So they exist there. They come in, volunteers from their club, they refurbish cars, and they lease them out in there. The other customers, or I should say potential customers, have been talked about before. One of the big customers that was supposed to be was Carbon Rivers. Carbon Rivers actually had a lot of dialogue with the railroad owner about bringing windmill blades to be recycled in by train. They actually ran an experiment with 10 cars, found out that it was more economical to haul by truck unless they would purchase a brand new fleet of railroad cars. We don't see any sign that that's going to occur, and we are currently carrying note of future traffic for Carbon Rivers, but in the truth, we've had very little communication with them. The other potential customers are a company called Carbon Sweep down on the, they're trying to purchase a property down on the northeast side of the plant, us old timers, the 1401 area, and they've been negotiating for a year and trying to find finance. The Croad position right now is they will either close in the next 6 weeks or probably go away. We are again not carrying any traffic projection for them in 2025. It would be a 2026 start with them. There are several other customers that are looking at sites on the spur, which goes along the back side of the plant. It's not very in good shape right now, and we're going to begin spending some of the state's money this year in order to rehabilitate that spur. The state gives us about $400,000 a year, have for now for 23 years, and except for the period in about 3 years when we got nothing because of legislative problems with getting the money in the line item. But now, this year, we'll get about $400,000, and we're already being told we'll get about $400,000 next year. It's used to rehabilitate the line and to upgrade it to carry loads of 286,000 tons, which is the current desire of all railroad cars, traffic in there. The final thing I would say that the state last year received a $23 million grant to rebuild bridges. We've been promised $5.4 million of that 23, but that was a promise of September of 23. They are still negotiating with the feds on how to allocate the money and what kind of strings it's going to have with it. So we don't know to this day whether we'll see the money this year or next year or never. I mean, it's just highly up in the air. I think we will get it. It'll be over a 5-year period, and we will rebuild all the bridges. We just had a bridge inspection. All bridges are certified to be fair condition, and we have no maintenance items that would be required to be repaired in less than 2 years in there. Since we submitted our report to you, we've completed the financial audit, and as we have always done, we had no findings of any kind on the financial audit. I'd be happy to answer any question.
Mr. Fee, thank you for your excellent report. Are the questions for Mr. Fee?
Thank you.
And I'd also like to recognize Mr. McGill, who's in the audience. Thank you for your service. And Mr. Fee is always, you're welcome back anytime. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it. Thank you. Let me note for the record that Councilman Hammond has left. He needed to get back to the church because they are working in the Budget Committee tonight, their Budget Committee, to finalize and pass their 2025 church budget. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. 6 ayes, no nays, and the consent items are approved. Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Hensley, we do. Let's go back, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the report of the Railroad Authority?
Accept it.
Accept it, I'm sorry, accept it. Moved and seconded to accept the report. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? There are none, and it is accepted. Now we're back on the consent agenda.
Okay. Like, we just approved the consent agenda, right? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we got it. Okay.
All right.
So we're up to public hearings and first reading of ordinances. Our first item is an ordinance to amend ordinance number 2, titled the zoning ordinance of the City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending section 6.01, titled O1 Office Districts, and section 7.02, titled B1 Neighborhood Business Districts, for the purpose of adding mixed-use development as a permitted principal use in both districts, provided certain conditions are met, and by amending section 6.02, titled O2 Office Districts, section 7.03, titled B2 General Business Districts, and section 7.04, titled UB2 Unified General Business Districts, to replace the word similar with the word compatible in their respective subparts pertaining to mixed-use development for consistency in language, and public hearing will be held on second reading.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item is a change to the text of the zoning ordinance, not to any particular location. In 2019, this Staff and Planning Commission made a change to allow mixed use, in other words, commercial and residential development in the same general locations. Felt it was a good move. The purpose was it's compatible from a planning standpoint, and also will help to encourage economic development and a more robust community. This change is to add the last 2 commercial districts that were not originally included, and to change one word in the narrative for all of them. Happy to answer further questions if there are any. And I have Ms. Williams from our staff here also.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Blasius? Seeing none, we're on the board, and the motion is to approve on first reading. 6 ayes, no nays, and the ordinance is approved on first reading. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 2, titled the zoning ordinance of the City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending the zoning map which is made a part of the ordinance by changing the zoning district of parcels 033.00 ND and 034.00 Anderson County Tax Map 105D Group A, containing approximately 2.65 acres, from RG1 Residential Open Space and Reserve District to B2 General Business District, said parcels being located at 11 and 13 Wilberforce Avenue, and the official public hearing will be, for this one, will be on second reading as well.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius?
Yes, sir, this is a rezoning request from RG1 open space zone to B2. The applicant intends to put in a tactical outdoor store. This is the property right as you turn into the road heading on Wilberforce, heading towards Central Services building. It is compatible with the comprehensive plan. Staff and Planning Commission approved it. I don't know if the applicants are here tonight, but with this change, it would allow anything that's allowable in the B2 zone.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Blasius? Ms. Smith?
Yes, I have several questions. I'm trying to understand this. The properties have a combined size of 2.65 acres, but it is indicated that there are some issues related to the stream, East Fork Poplar Creek, East Fork Poplar Creek that runs on the back side of the property. And I know that a lot of that land adjacent to the creek is considered riparian wetland. And further, probably has mercury contamination, because that area got a lot of contamination of the floodplain when mercury was being released from Y-12. So I'm wondering just how much of the property is actually going to be usable for a business of any sort.
Those questions will come up in the site planning process, which we're not at yet. The rezoning is the first step in that, but obviously the floodplain will have to be protected in whatever site plan design is brought forth.
Okay. I have some misgivings about saying that it's good for business by rezoning it and then having to turn around and say, well, it turns out it doesn't have space. So I was just wondering about the real feasibility of using the site for the intended purpose. And one other comment related to the applicant's intended purpose. I think this is a business that Oak Ridge has been waiting for a long time, an outdoor store with a full range of hunting and fishing supplies and other outdoor stuff. But I have some concern about having a store that is the appearance of the sign at the existing store in Harriman, at least as it shows on Google, just says A1 Tactical. It doesn't say A1 Tactical Outdoors. And given that this is part of the entrance to the Scarborough neighborhood, which has had a undeserved reputation for violence of various sorts over the years, I'd hate to have something that is very definitely a gun store on the road going into the neighborhood. I think that if this is approved, I would like to ask the applicants to make sure that it really says outdoors on it, to basically make it clear that this is a store for people, not just a store for guns. So that we're not making adding to a bad reputation for a neighborhood that's had trouble with that. But I think it's a great store. We've needed in the community, and it's a good site for it if the site could be used. But I had some concerns about the site. Thanks.
Other questions or comments, and certainly those can be addressed on second reading of the ordinance. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Would you give us your name and address, please? Whoa. Slow down.
Okay, my name is Lexi Swint. I currently reside at 160 Rivendell Terrace in Harriman, Tennessee, and I'm one of the owners and partners of A1 Tactical Outdoors. So just to address some of your concerns, we did meet with Mr. Bailey last week regarding the stream issue, because we were also a little concerned about that. He was able to measure out 30 feet from the stream line and then an additional 60 feet, and it left a ton of space. So we were really pleased with the remainder of the space in the area of which that we will get to construct and build and actually use without dipping in to that boundary line. And as far as the A1 Tactical Outdoors, we used to be A1 Tactical for a very long time. We wanted to branch out, add an outdoor sector. So we have had that signage for quite some time now. So it needs to be updated, and it most certainly will be with approval moving towards Oak Ridge. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, the motion is to approve on first reading, and we're on the board. Ayes 6, no nays, and it is approved on the first reading. Second reading will be in January. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend the Centennial Bluff Planned Unit Development Master Plan to remove 24 single-family lots and add 2 multifamily buildings. Said property located on Centennial Bluff Boulevard and bordered by Melton Lake Drive and Edgemore Road, with no change to the zoning district, which remains R3 PUD, medium-density residential, with a planned unit development overlay, and this would also have a public hearing officially on second reading.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius?
Thank you, sir. This is a small amendment to a part of the PUD that stretches most of the length of Edgemoor. The PUD was adopted in 2009, amended, in 2022. But the changes are some very, very small property line changes in the duplex area, and then the replacement of one street of single-family homes to 2 more condo buildings is similar to the ones that you see when you're looking in from Melton Lake Drive.
Mr. Hensley?
In the Planning Commission, we talked about the clubhouse. Are they going to reactivate the clubhouse?
I believe so, but I'm not certain. Ms. Williams is here. Maybe she's talked more to the applicants than I have.
Yes, is the short answer. They've been doing actually a lot of renovations on that building, including the pool.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, questions about the traffic access on this. That's been a challenge on this property ever since it was first zoned. Will there be left turn access out of this onto Melton Lake Drive finally? Or will it still be the single access direction from Melton Lake Drive?
At the risk of saying that's not my department, I think that's a question for the city engineer, but I don't know of a request for that at this point. And the overall traffic volume should be quite similar to what was projected in the original PUD. The number of units, it's in the memo here, I don't have it from memory, but it's very similar number of units. And so I'm not, Roger, do you know if we've had a request for left turn north out of that condo development onto Melton Lake?
Mr. Flynn?
There was a plan submitted by the original developer in 2011, I believe, that had that configuration, but when they saw the cost of it, they abandoned the project and then eventually abandoned the whole thing. TDOT, with the widening, is actually looking at going down, partway down Melton Lake. There's a possibility they're gonna end up changing something at that intersection. The short answer is there's nothing definite, it's a couple of concepts.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that that will be resolved. I remember when we were first given this as a project, the applicant swore up and down that there'd be no problems with only having right turn access to Melton Lake Drive out of that development. And of course, it's been a problem from the beginning. People illegally turn left out of the wrong direction lane, and I think it's an issue for the development, it's an issue for the residents, and it's an issue for everybody who drives on these roads.
Yeah, there is actually a drawing for it, but I don't know if it'll be built.
Okay. Well, it'd be good if that gets resolved, and I was hoping to hear that it would be. I also see that the PUD design shows a connection going all the way to Centennial Bluff, or Centennial Boulevard. Is that real? Would there be actual traffic access to that?
That was always the
Okay.
intention.
Yeah,
And the
okay.
water, the utilities do go over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, good. So that would help a bit with the access problems, but I'm hoping that we will see resolution, whoever has to do it, of problems that people have getting out of that site.
Yeah, that was always the intention.
Thanks.
Other questions? Seeing none, the motion is to approve.
Okay, under final adoption of ordinances, we have an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plans land use plan for parcel 021.00, Anderson County Tax Map 087N Group C, and parcels 001.00 and 002.00, Anderson County Tax Map 094D Group A, containing approximately 12.6 acres from B general business to R residential, said parcels being located off Eastburn Lane and the Oak Ridge Turnpike, and we held a public hearing on the first reading.
Chair. This is a plan amendment to the land use plan on the property on the north side of the turnpike, immediately as you enter the city from the east side, as you cross under the railroad trestle. The intention is for it to be a townhouse development, and the primary access will be from the turnpike, a little bit further west as you travel into the city.
Now, I notice, Wayne, on the land use plan, we're changing both sides of the turnpike, but the part that's in the development is only on the north side of the turnpike. Does that create any kind of a conflict in the land use plan for future stuff?
I don't think I think that what's shown there is the existing, not the proposed. So the part that's on the south side of the turnpike is staying as is.
Okay, thank you.
Probably could be clearer on our maps.
Just real quick. So, no, you said farther west on the turnpike as far as the entrance into this piece of property. Are you going to try to line that up with LZ Drive?
I don't remember off the top of my head exactly where it lines up. It's in the,
So it'd be closer to making a true intersection right there so that there's not a gap, so to speak. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is to approve on second and final reading.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 2 titled the zoning ordinance of the city of Oak Ridge, Tennessee by amending the zoning map which is made a part of the ordinance by changing the zoning district of parcel 021.00 Anderson County Tax Map 087N Group C and parcels 001.00 and 002.00 Anderson County Tax Map 094D Group A, containing approximately 12.6 acres from RG1 residential open space and reserve district to R3 PUD medium density residential district with a plan unit development overlay and approving the associated plan unit development preliminary master plan, said parcels being located off Eastburn Lane and the Oak Ridge Turnpike, and a public hearing is required on this one.
Yes, I should have saved time by describing that the last item was the land use change which would enable the zoning change. So the request is to change the zoning on the same property from RG1 to R3.
An ordinance to amend Title 7, titled Fire Protection and Fireworks of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending Section 7-101, titled International Fire Code adopted, to adopt the 2024 edition of the International Fire Code, and to amend the following sections to provide for the necessary amendments. Section 7-103, titled Definitions, Section 7-104, titled Revisions, and Section 7-105, titled Replacements.
Move for approval.
No, sir.
Yes, Mayor, Council, item coming before you tonight is the adoption of the 2024 International Fire Code that we briefed you all during the work session. And this allows us to comply with the state law as far as being within 7 years of the most current published adopted code. Staff went through, and there's no really major change, as you can see in your packet. major changes is related to lithium batteries. So, and I think some green spaces. So, if y'all willing to take any questions.
Six ayes, no nays, and the ordinance is approved on second reading. Thank you, Chief. Next item, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 13, titled Property Maintenance Regulations, Chapter 2, titled Oak Ridge Property Maintenance Code of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending Section 13-201, titled International Property Maintenance Code, adopted to adopt the 2024 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code by changing the title of Section 13-202 from deletions and insertions to the International Property Maintenance Code 2018 edition to amendments, and updating the introductory language of Section 13-202 to reference the correct edition of the code.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius?
In the interest of time, let me introduce the next six at once.
Okay.
They're basically different parts of the same effort. As Chief Solomon just described, we have been working through the process of updating our codes from the 2018 to 2024. This set of code changes are for residential, commercial, all the trades. The only one that's slightly different is the electrical, just because of the nature of those codes is 2023 instead of 24. I don't have a good explanation why. And it has some minor amendments or amendments that we think are in the best interest of the community, but not significant changes. I'm happy to answer specific questions about any of these. And I also have Lisa Crumpley, the building and codes official here, if we've got details on the codes. And I know that I would say that both Chief Solomon's staff and mine worked very hard on this together, put in many, many hours to review, consider revisions, and feel comfortable that these were the right changes for Oak Ridge.
Mr. Dodson?
Yeah, just a quick question, and this may have been answered on first reading, but can we group all six, or do we need to do these individually?
I think we did briefly sort of talk about it last time. They are individual in our system in Granicus, so I would do them individual. But we can certainly look to the future should we have something like this as a way to group them, but right now they're in the system individual.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is to approve on final reading. Six ayes, no nays. It is approved. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 12, titled Building, Utility, Etc. Codes, Chapter 13, titled Mechanical Code of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending Section 12-1301, titled Mechanical Code, adopted to adopt the 2024 edition of the International Mechanical Code.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius? Any additional?
Same answers last time, sir.
All right. All right. Any questions for Mr. Blasius? If not, the motion is to approve on final reading. Six ayes, no nays. It is approved. Moving on to item F, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 12, titled Building, Utility, Etc. Codes, Chapter 4, titled Electrical Code of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by deleting Section 12-405, titled Electrical Code, adopted in its entirety, and substituting therefore a new Section 12-405, titled Electrical Code, adopted, amendments, in order to adopt the 2023 edition of the National Electrical Code and any necessary amendments thereto.
Moved and seconded. Any questions for Mr. Blasius or staff? Seeing none, motion is to approve. Six ayes, no nays. It is approved on second reading. Next item, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 12, titled Building, Utility, Etc. Codes, Chapter 11, titled Residential Code of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by deleting Section 12-1101, titled Residential Code in its entirety, and substituting therefore a new Section 12-1101, titled Residential Code, to adopt the 2024 edition of the International Residential Code, and to amend Section 12-1102, titled Amendments, to update the necessary amendments thereto.
Moved and seconded. Any questions for Mr. Blasius? Seeing none? On the board. 6 ayes, no nays, and it is approved on second reading. Next item, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 12, titled Building, Utility, Etc. Codes, Chapter 2, titled Building Code of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending Section 12-201, titled Building Code Adopted, to adopt the 2024 edition of the International Building Code, and by amending Section 12-02, titled Amendments, subsection 12A, to adopt the necessary amendments thereto regarding square footage amounts for automatic sprinkler systems.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Again, we're on the board for final approval. 6 ayes, no nays. It is approved. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 12, titled Building, Utility, Etc. Codes, Chapter 7, titled Plumbing Code generally, of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, by amending Section 12-705, titled Plumbing Code Adopted, to adopt the 2024 edition of the International Plumbing Code, and by amending Section 12-706, titled Plumbing Code Amendments, to update a section title reference.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, motion is to approve. 6 ayes, no nays. The ordinance is approved on final reading. Next item, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Title 12, titled Building, Utility, Etc. Codes, Chapter 3, titled Trade Licensing Board of the Code of Ordinances, City of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, to delete Section 12-308, titled General Powers and Duties, and replace it with a new Section 12-308, titled General Powers and Duties State Licenses, to allow state licensed electricians, plumbers, and mechanical contractors to operate within the city limits without an additional locally issued license.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius, any additional comments on this?
Yes, this one is separate from the other ones. The city established the Trade Licensing Board in 2011, requiring city licenses for trades contractors. Over the years, we feel that we have a good handle on the safety and the compliance in the city. We want to make sure that general contractors can find all the trade contractors they need. I hear from general contractors that it's hard to keep up the pace of building. And Mr. Heeman and I actually met with the Trade Licensing Board on 3 occasions. On their third, they voted to endorse this change. It will allow that somebody with a state license as well as a city license can pull permits in the city. It will not change our permitting process, our inspections process, or the requirements for safety in any of the trades.
Mr. Hensley.
Someone with just a city license can still work in the city, is that correct?
Absolutely. It does not change that requirement, and there are some people that choose to just have a city license.
All right, the motion is to approve, and again, we're on the board. Six ayes, no nays. And the ordinance is approved. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
Under resolutions, you have a resolution authorizing the approval of Community Development Block Grant substantial amendments to the city's 3-year consolidated plans for 2020 to 2022 and 2023 to 2025, and the city's annual action plans for program years 2019, 2022, 2023, and 2024.
Move for approval.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Blasius.
You'll finally be rid of me after this one. The staff has been working for a better part of this year on some amendments to the previous plans. Some of this had to do with the COVID money, some of it had to do with changing priorities and things we believed were best for the city. And so this is kind of a collection of amendments to our plans with HUD, which includes 2 3-year plans that are called the consolidated plans, as well as related annual action plans, the result of which will be to transfer funds which we intend, if approved, to use for a new HVAC unit at the Scarborough Center, as well as a series of sidewalk and handicap ramp improvements in the Woodland neighborhood.
Any questions for Mr. Blasius?
I should add that we had a 30-day comment period and public hearings, and today was the close of that. We haven't had any since early on.
Mr. Dodson.
So, Mr. Blasius, if you could refresh my memory, we had Marion Wildgruber attend one of our planning commission meetings recently and talk about some sidewalk issues. Would this factor into the CBD money, or would this be separate?
It's separate in that is this recommendation and proposal is to spend money in eligible areas using the CDBG money. Planning Commission asked a lot of questions about our sidewalk policies, and Ms. Williams and I have worked on some information to bring to you, actually starting this week, to talk about future changes in sidewalk policy, but this doesn't change that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blasius.
Ms. Hensley.
On page 3 of the 2019 annual action plan revisions, the idea here was to find obsolete designations, right, and transfer the money somewhere where it could be used elsewhere.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
Isn't the basic idea here is we're taking money that was not necessarily used and obsolete, so that was the word used in here, and transferring it to somewhere it can be used. But I notice on page 3 there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries that are urgent need COVID repair. Well, that was in 2019. Is that an omission, or is there a reason that's still there?
There was COVID money that we didn't spend all of it during the height of the pandemic that can only be used for allowable COVID, some things that were aimed at COVID.
So it went away.
So the money is still there, and so the HVAC system at Scarborough, because one of the allowable uses there was air filtration systems, and the system that's going in includes air filtration, therefore it's eligible for that use of that money.
So my question is covered, but I didn't quite understand why they weren't crossed out with a red line on page 3.
Of which one? I'm looking at all of them.
The five down there at the bottom that are urgent need COVID.
All of those are still eligible under the program, even though it says COVID, they're still eligible expenses for that COVID funding is why they stayed on.
Okay, so they can be used for the air conditioners.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Yes. I'm sorry. Okay. Six ayes, no nays. Motion is approved on second reading. Resolution. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the issuance of a certificate of compliance for Oak Spirit and Wine LLC to engage in the retail sale of alcoholic beverages at Total Liquor and Wine located at 2079 Oak Ridge Turnpike.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Hope is recusing on this, and he'll sit down in the audience. right, the motion is to approve. Are there any, Mr. Hensley?
Yes, I talked to one of our city inspectors a couple of days ago, and they said they had put a stop work order on them for part of the work. Or is this something that we should be continuing to consider here?
Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Mr. Patel, if you give us your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Kishan Patel. Address is 122 East Division Road, Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
All right. And Mr. Hensley, what's your question?
On the basement, it's nothing to do with me. I'm just going to lease the building on the top part. So on the bottom, it's nothing to do with me. So there are one on the top floor, one on the bottom floor. So it's not connected to each other, or if there is no exit or anything, you can go down. You have to exit from the door to go around it and go downstairs.
Mr. Blazers?
Mr. Blazers' comment was a little confused.
There were items here and at another location Mr. Patel owns where there was some work that was unpermitted or improperly permitted that we got corrected, I believe, but I think it has been corrected and permits have been issued. That was on.
That doesn't involve what we're being asked to do here.
Doesn't involve the question of the space for the requested liquor store upstairs.
All right. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I put this up just to make sure that we ask the applicant to speak, so I forgot to turn it off.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant, Mr. Dodson?
So this question may be for our city staff, Mr. Blasius, if that's okay. With regards to this potential property or any property, if it's a retail space, can it also serve as a residential space?
You were asking if those are allowable together?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't remember off the top of my head what the commercial zoning on this space is, but you just earlier tonight, and of course it hasn't taken effect yet, but allowed mixed use in all of our commercial zones.
Thank you.
If this is in one of the ones that was previously included, then it would already be allowable. If it's in one or B2 that we just added, then it wouldn't be until after the new ordinance went into effect. We do, I suspect, and Ms. Reichert might know, but because we're aware of the work, if it was in the wrong zone, we would have already flagged that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blasius.
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, I see a resident out there raising her hand.
I know, I'm going to get to her just a second. Is there any other questions right now related to what's been brought up or for Mr. Blasius, and then I'll get comments from the audience. Seeing none, yes, ma'am.
I'm Molly Quist. I'm the owner of the Dance Center of Oak Ridge. I was formerly at 108 East Division Road, Mr. Patel's building. I'm now at 1151 Oak Ridge Turnpike. One of the worst things that ever happened to my business was Mr. Patel. He was my landlord from October of 2020 until May 30th of 2024. He acquired the building, bought the building in October 2020, and the first thing he did for his tenants is he removed our dumpster and put it over for his own use at his tobacco store. He did nothing to keep up the building for 4 years now. The gutters were falling off the building. There's potholes all over the parking lot. The building has holes in the siding. It needs to be painted. There's trash. There's street people that live in the parking lot. I had an audition one day, and there was a street person laying on the sidewalk, passed out. He sells things to the street people. That's why they live in the parking lot. I think he's a bully. I think he's not a nice man. And so I feel feel that before he opens another business in the city of Oak Ridge, he needs to bring the property up to code on East Division Road. It has termites, it's just terrible. And it's an embarrassment to the city of Oak Ridge. It was an embarrassment to my building on the outside. And if I wouldn't sign his new lease in February of 2024, where he raised my rent $18,000 more a year for a 5-year lease. The HVAC systems did not work. I would have had to replace those. Probably $15,000, $20,000 a piece. There were 2. We had to get out. And he threatened if we did not sign his lease that was prepared by his attorney that never saw the building. He admitted to my husband, who was an attorney, that he had never looked at the property.
Okay, Ms. Quist, your time's expired. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please do something about that property.
Mr. Patel, I'm going to give you the opportunity to respond to the comments. You'll have up to 3 minutes. But before we do that, Ms. Smith, have you got a?
No.
Okay, all right. Mr. Patel, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay. So on that property, she's been leasing for many years, right? We did not raise any, the money for it. Like, after we purchased the property, the lease has been expired. We, did not increase the rent. All the expenses go up and up, right? And what the previous owner paid for the property, we pay him more money. So the mortgage, we have to pay to the mortgage company as well. And we request all the tenants, if you want us to fix the whole property, we will love to do that. But we have to increase the rent. We have to do the new lease. So after we're going to spend the money, if we don't going to make the money, why we're going to reinvest the whole thing again. And we also offer them, right, that time?
No, don't. You're not getting back and forth asking her questions.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So we offer them if you want us to do the whole thing, we will love to do that. Or, we can do something for you. And we did not threat anything, or the attorney did not threat. If it's threat, do you have something in writing or maybe in verbal things? We requested if we want to renew the lease, we will love to do that, and we did not increase the rent the crazy amount as well. Not in the market price. If you go by the market price, she's owning the the space. She does not own 2,500 square foot. It was more than that, and we been charging her I think it's 1,500 or 1,600. So we went to 2,500. What I'm
Ms. Smith.
Yes, we're in an interesting situation here. We're asked to provide, a certification that the applicant meets the state requirements and city requirements for various purposes related to owning and operating a liquor store. And honestly, you meet those. Those criteria appear to be met. But we have, we're hearing about a concern that, and I wouldn't place it with one of your former tenants on Division Road, but the Division Road property is in poor condition. And it's hard to do a favor for a corporate citizen of the city like yourself, a
Yes.
business partner, if we don't feel you're being a good citizen. So it would be, I think we would all greatly appreciate it if
We
the
just,
property in Division Road were brought up to a higher standard. And as the citizen said, the space around the tobacco store is in beautiful shape, but the rest of the building and the parking lot around it is not.
Yes, we plan to expand every year, making money. So we just fix it other side parking. So we plan to fix the next year by little by little. But we cannot spend all the money at the same time if we don't going to make the money.
So you're saying you can't afford to maintain the building?
We can, it's not, but we don't have a tenant to pay for so we can get the money also from the tenant as well.
Yeah, well, there are other tenants
if tenant is going to pay a little bit money to us, we are not asking like, if you are paying like, $2,000, right, a month, for example, one tenant. If they're going to pay like, 2,500 or 2,600, like, a little bit amount of money. So we can spend it like, because right now to fixing like, the whole parking, if you look the building back of the site, we got an estimate of around like $300,000 to fix the parking lot. At least that time on 2020. Right now it's probably a little bit more. So if we're going to spend that much money, how would we like, going to like get that money back from the tenant? So we have to increase a little bit money to get it back, to pay to the like, the mortgage company. So we're going to get the loan, but I mean, if the tenant's not going to agree to like, re-sign like, the lease, because what's like, like we charging them like it was $1,500. So how we going to make money if we're going to get the collect like just the $1,500 from the from the like, two of the tenants? Plus we don't charge like, like the church people. Also we do like give them a free of I think AGFC. They are giving like, the bags every year, school bags and stuff. So we don't charge them as rent either. So what we try to help like, the community as well, what we can.
Mr. Hensley, you got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could ask the inspectors to look at the property on East Division Road.
I believe we've already done that, and they reported a few potholes were the only issues that they noted. Is that what that says? Yes.
About the internal issues that Ms. Press is talking about, when she was renting there.
Yeah, this says there were no exterior violations. We can't get into who in the lease was responsible for repairing the HVAC when there was no lease. I mean, we really have no jurisdiction in that. That's a private matter between two citizens regarding a lease.
And on the list, I don't think so.
No, just hold on. I'll call on you if I need to. Ms. Rackard, and Ms. Hickman, there's a new application here, or a revised application. Is it, this was deferred because the first one was not correct?
Yes, I asked Mr. Patel to complete the updated version of the application in its entirety, not just the additional questions that weren't in the first one.
All right.
Ms. Quist had provided this to us. It's pictures. She had asked if I would share this with you all. It's pictures of different things on the property.
To start.
We'll start up right there. She asked me to do that.
Mr. Gleason?
Yes, sir.
mean, what he's asking is on the application form, since he updated the questions, should you have had him have it re-notarized? But honestly, he can stand before you and tell you whether that's his signature and is your wife the other partner. Yeah, they could stand before you and tell you that. And
He was out of the country at the time, so that was the impetus behind that in terms of none of the the other questions on the old application were on there plus the new questions. So I didn't even think to have him re-notarize it because he was not in the country at the time.
I mean, he's
I'll defer to the city attorney.
he's
Does it need to be?
verified in front of you, and his wife could come up to you and she could verify that that is her signature on that application.
Is that a
They
yes?
could verify their signatures for you. I mean, the acknowledgement is just to notarize that those individuals are the ones that are signing it, and they're in front of you tonight, so they can indicate to you that they
So
signed
you're-
that application
you're
in
happy.
full.
You're happy.
Yeah. I mean, they've said they've signed it. Right? Yes. Do you want me to go over what the purpose of the resolution is? Because we've been a little
Yes.
sidetracked onto a different issue of East Division.
Please.
But the resolution, so if you look at the resolution that's up on the board, this is the local certificate of compliance. So the state is the one that's actually going to give him permission to operate a package store. It's not the city. It's just a component of his application. So this is to indicate that the city has reviewed his background check to determine that there is no felony within the last 10 years. His background check, he has not committed a felony within the last 10 years. And to indicate that the specific property on which they're looking to put a retail package store is in compliance with zoning as to the location. So is that location allowed by zoning to have a package store? And the answer to that is yes. The city of Oak Ridge does not have a limitation on the number of retail package stores. That's one of the other things that the state law does have you look at, because if we were at our max, then you would not be able to issue a certificate of compliance, but the city does not have any limitation there. So that's what you're looking at. Should the business change ownership or location, the certificate of compliance then is invalidated and they have to come back. But it's just a component of their application. So it is the state that will review it and determine whether or not to issue the retail package license for that location. You're just taking action on saying the city has conducted the background check and the location is appropriate for a package store by zone. And that's it.
Mr. Dodson?
So I've got a question concerning possible increase in traffic. We need to have a traffic impact study in that area because we have, what is it, three other businesses there. Will this make it difficult for those businesses to conduct in that area?
I would ask our city engineer to comment. Does this require a traffic study?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Henslee, go
What's
ahead.
the definition of a background check, Tammy?
The background check is determining whether a person has a conviction for a felony. That's what they're looking at. So it's a TBI background check. The application goes to Beth. So I have not looked at that because that goes to Beth.
So Mr. Patel originally and Ms. Patel originally submitted an FBI background check, but that did say on there it does not guarantee that there is nothing in background on the state or local level. So we actually went back and asked Mr. Patel and Ms. Patel to submit a TBI background check, which they have done that, and we treat it just like when someone's applying for a beer permit. The background check has to be within the last 30 days. It has to be up to date within the last 30 days, and Mr. Patel and Ms. Patel submitted that.
And Ms. Rackard, as it relates to the resolution, we're making the determination that the location of Total Liquor and Wine, 2079 Oak Ridge Turnpike, complies with all local laws, ordinances, and resolutions as to the location of the business.
As to its location, that is the way the state statute reads. It's similar to what we do for wine at retail, though we don't formally do that at city council meetings anymore. You know, they gave that authority to you to sign off. It is to look at to determine, is that specific business allowable in that zone? Is there anything in the zoning ordinance that prohibits them from being at that location?
All right.
I mean, as far as the compliance with actual zoning ordinances, as far as it's established, that is, it's a separate process as all businesses go through when they are being constructed in Oak Ridge. But you're just looking at the location as far as it being allowed for retail package by zone.
Mr. Dawson.
Just a real quick summation. So they have satisfied all state requirements and requirements of the city. Is this correct?
For purposes of the local certificate of compliance, yes. Yes.
So other questions, assuming that this is approved, that this certificate is approved, that the final determination as to whether or not the license is issued will be by the Alcoholic Beverage Commission.
Yes, the Alcoholic Beverage Commission meets and votes on all applications.
This is basically just, we're limited in what we can ask or what action we can take. Mr. Blasius, and I'll ask you, Ms. Rackard, are the staff confirming for council that as it relates to this location, it complies with our laws, ordinances, and resolutions as to the location of this particular kind of business? Mr. Blasius?
I didn't prepare for this to check the zoning, but according to the check by the city clerk and attorney, it is in a valid commercial zone, allowing package store as a allowable use. Is that also your understanding, Tammy?
That's my understanding. The applications go to the city clerk's office. They don't go to me, but that's my understanding, yes.
I feel confident that my staff would have noted that if it was not, but I don't have it in front of me. I didn't prepare on this item.
I had spoken previously with Ms. Crumpley and Ms. Williams, and both of them indicated that it is the correct zone. It is zoned correctly for that type of business, yes.
All right, Ms. Smith.
And the other component of that was that we had to make sure that there was nothing that was identified in our ordinances as a use that shouldn't be too close to a liquor store. And we didn't find any such thing.
Correct.
That was the church and school stuff.
All right, any other questions or comments? The motion is to approve the certificate, which was then sent to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission for further action. And we're on the board. Ayes 4, 1 nay, and the resolution is approved. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
Move for approval.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Flynn.
This is a project to replace 2 control panels on 2 different pump stations in the west end of town. We've already done 4 of them in Rarity Ridge. These 2, one is in Horizon Center. It's the
station and panel that was put in there when that park was built in 1999. The second one is for the perimeter road station, which is the station that takes all of the waste from points east of ETTP, pumps it out of the river and sends it over to Rarity. Both of the panels are in poor shape. One of them we've actually got wired together with a temporary controller. The reason we want to waive competitive bids is that we're trying to standardize on all of these control panels, and we're trying to get them all to the exact same specifications, so when we pull a part off a shelf for a pump station on one side of town, it's the exact item as on the other side of town. And that helps us with A, parts inventory, and B, employee training.
All right, questions? Comments? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Six ayes, no nays, and it is approved. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the purchase and installation of audio-visual equipment for the Oak Ridge Conference Center from Central Technologies Incorporated, Knoxville, Tennessee, in an amount not to exceed $304,502.41.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Hedrick.
Yes, this is a contract for the purchase and installation of equipment for the new conference center. This would include the lobby, both small meeting rooms, and the grand ballroom. The equipment would be able, in the ballroom, would be able to be used individually in the 3 separate salons or throughout the ballroom as a whole, depending upon how the room is divided up for use. The equipment also would include the ability to broadcast meetings from one of the salons, such as similar to a city council meeting or a board meeting. This was put out to bid, and this was the lowest bid received from a qualified bidder. We have asked for a significant contingency because it is going in at the very end of the project, and we want to be prepared in case there's some hardware that needs to be added or some tweaks that need to be made to make sure that we have a very high quality system when we present this to the public for its use.
Questions for Mr. Hedrick? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Ayes 6, no nays. And the resolution is approved. Next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution to generally establish monthly regular city council meetings and monthly work session meetings for calendar year 2025.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Heeman, Ms. Hickman, any comments?
So this is the time of year where we put before you the meeting calendar for next year. Their staff is recommending no changes. There are a couple of times where the work sessions are moved to the 4th Tuesday because the 3rd Tuesday falls the day after the council meetings, and I know that that's been a preference not to have 2 meetings like that back to back. It still gives Mr. Heeman the authority on the work sessions in terms of moving the work sessions around, or council the authority to change meeting dates for whatever reason. And we did include some conferences that we know that come annually
So right now, the meeting in March is scheduled, regular meeting is scheduled for March the 10th.
Yes, sir. Right now, yes.
All right, and I think we'll probably have to, we may need to talk about that. You'll have to determine whether you're gonna have a quorum. You know, there'll be three. I will not, I'll be out of town on the 10th.
And if Mr. Hope attends the ECA meeting and Ms. Smith attends the League of Cities meeting, which I think they both usually do, that means there would be three absent. So we have to figure out
Okay.
an
You'd have
alternative
a
date.
bare minimum for a quorum, but
Yeah. mhm.
but anything would have to
Need
be,
four.
but anything would have to be passed unanimously.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? If not, the motion is to approve. Ayes 6, no nays. Resolution is approved. Next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution extending the 2021 pilot reauthorization documents for use by the Industrial Development Board of the City of Oak Ridge as a guideline for tax abatements and payments in lieu of taxes for qualifying entities in Oak Ridge through December 31st, 2025.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Heeman.
Yes, sir. These do sunset at the end of December. In order to keep the program going, we'd like to extend it for a year. We have already started working on revisions. This does not include those revisions. It is as it was, but we will get those revisions done certainly much quicker than 1 year, but it was just easy to renew it for the full year just in case.
All right, questions for Mr. Heeman? Ms. Smith?
Yeah, can we have a schedule for the process of doing the revisions on this so that it doesn't get kicked down the road for yet another year? We've been promised that this was being reviewed in the past and it didn't work out. I know you're committed to doing that, but if there
Certainly.
was a schedule that we could hold the IDB to as well as staff, that would be good to have.
Certainly, I can work on that for you. I will tell you it is at the attorney's office. I would love to get it on the next work session with a revised. So, I mean, we have already made progress on it. But yes, if it goes past next work session, I will certainly let you know. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Six ayes, no nays, and it is approved. Next resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution awarding a contract to GCE Construction, La Follette, Tennessee, for renovations to the municipal building courtroom in an amount not to exceed $688,450.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Yes, sir, Mr.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the kind of the final action before we get to construction related to courtroom improvements. So we've talked about those quite a bit. So I'm not going to go into detail on that. This project was publicly bid. We had multiple respondents, and the lowest qualified bidder was GCE Construction. So we're presenting this to you for your approval tonight. I will mention that we are still working on some final permitting issues related to some fire and safety issues, so there might be some minor changes moving forward. But we are asking for a 20% contingency on this project just to ensure that we have enough to deal with any unexpected issues that might come up from the construction in a fairly storied building. So.
All right, questions, comments? And certainly, the request that I would make, if there are any cost overruns, be sure and discuss that with Budget and Finance Committee. All right, motion is to approve. Six ayes, no nays. And the resolution is approved. The next item of business is appearance of citizens. Citizens shall be permitted to address city council about matters that are not and had not been on the formal agenda tonight. Any citizen wishing to do so shall raise your hand and proceed to the lectern, and after recognition, state your name and address and the purpose of your appearance before council. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes and shall relate solely to matters of city business. They shall not generally result in a formal response or action at the time of presentation, because in most cases, neither the council nor the staff will be prepared to respond effectively. However, I may answer the questions or direct the city manager to do so, or direct the city manager to work with the citizen to effect resolution of the matter. Statements that are purely political in nature will not be allowed, such as campaign speeches or announcements of candidacy for office, nor will announcements of a civic or social event that is unrelated to city business. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council tonight? All right, to my left, back to the right. Seeing none, the next item of business is announcements and scheduling. Are there any announcements or requests for scheduling? All right. Requests for new business items or future briefings. We've talked about a couple. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? Okay, Mr. Heeman, your report for this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. So, as stated earlier, this is our last meeting in this courtroom. Hopefully, it will look very different the next time that you come back. I do want to point out that we're still advertising for interns in many departments, and that's open till January the 6th if you know anybody that's interested in that. And also, we're accepting applications for board members on nearly all city boards. That's open till January the 3rd. Okay. I wanted to share with you that our electric department has done.
Just a second, Mr. Heeman.
Speaking of interns, the education, the Holly Cross, the technical education person at the high school, put me in touch with a person who does the high school interns. And if we were interested in a high school intern, they're very excited about that.
We have high school graduate degree and undergraduate, so all three in there, and we've already received applications from some high school folks, so thank you for pointing that out. I should have mentioned that earlier.
All right.
Okay. I did want to point out that we've changed out about 21 poles in the west end of town and installed about 17,000 feet of new conductor. So crews have been doing a lot of work, and obviously you saw them out for the Christmas lights earlier, but we've done a lot of routine inspections on poles. One of those things that we do that rarely goes mentioned, but a lot of work goes into that. Also, our fire department, we've got some new recruits that have completed hazardous material operations training, and I want to thank them for their work on that. And one kind of big thing, we've had several employees that have requested a vote on a trial for a different type of shift to go from a 24-48 shift to a 48-96 shift. That is 48 on and 96 off. There is no funding associated with this, no increase in funding, but I will tell you that the vote to try this new shift was a yes vote. You can see the vote on there was 43 yes and 18 no. So we're going to be working on a revised shift, and that will be done as a trial period to see how we like it. There's several departments that have switched to this shift, so tentatively we would start that trial January the 19th. And that was a discussion amongst all the people in the department, just so you know. Okay. We have administrative hearing officer. Just wanted to point out another thing we don't talk about a lot, but we did have 3 cases related to property maintenance that had total violations of $5,000. So we do penalize folks that are not meeting our standards when it comes to code enforcement. We have been working on cleanup of databases and upgrading security systems in the IT department, and also a lot of training on OneDrive. You heard about that, and I think an email went out to each of you about that as well. Leaf pickup's a few days behind because of the weather, but they're, we don't try not to pick up the wet or frozen leaves. That doesn't work too well, but we'll get back on track with that. And also, we're looking for a new name for the comprehensive plan. That is out for public opinion right now, if you want to vote on that. And survey will go out next week. Also, our half marathon was a huge success. Hard to believe, over 1,000 runners in that this year. This was the 16th annual race, and I understand the track was, the race route was very well received this year. Finally, Lauren was out taking pictures at the Christmas event, and I asked her if I could take a picture of her family, and I hate to say this, it took me about 6 or 7 tries. You cannot do it wearing gloves. I have a great newfound appreciation for the work that she does at all of our events. She got me and my wife in one quick snap, and it took me about 5 minutes to get her. And her kids were very patient, I would like to report, during this. But we had a great event, and I want to thank Parks and Rec, and the mayor came out and did the countdown. It was just a really good community event. And finally, we want to talk a little bit about the Christmas parade. You can see the date on that, Saturday, December 14th, starting at 6 p.m. And I know police department will be in here, I think, starting about 3. They're going to do a little dinner together, and they'll have their game plan together for the parade. That's an all hands on deck, and if you've never seen that, it's kind of interesting to come and watch them as they prepare for this large event. So I'd encourage you to pop in this room right before the parade and see them as they plan for this. Got a number of
and
new...
that's this Saturday.
That's Saturday the 14th. Thank you. A number of new employees that you can see there, and promoted employees, Tyler Scobie and Cynthia Will were promoted, and we also lost a great one to retirement, and that is Rick Irwin over in Public Works and Utilities. So, and is that my last slide? I think that's it. All right, I'll take questions.
Questions, comments? All right, Ms. Racker, do you have any more comments or a report tonight? All right. Any other business to come before council before we adjourn? That's exactly right.
Yes.
Thank you all very much for being here, and Merry Christmas. We're adjourned.
Those chairs.